Hello everybody and welcome to Edshed. Today we are taking a look at a PvP build for Guild Wars 2, and this one is the Bunker Guardian build. It's the Dragonhunter variation. There was quite a popular Bunker Guardian build that wasn't Dragonhunter, but it seems that the Dragonhunter one is the meta currently. So that's the one that I'm going to be covering and looking at in this video. So to start off with, we will look at the weapons that you've got. And for this build, you're going to have a staff, and then your or the ones that you can swap to are the Mace and Shield. Now, the staff is purely a support item. This whole build is built around support, but you know the staff in particular, it has very little offensive capabilities. Your key skill, or the key skills that you're going to want to be paying attention to, are your number 2 one, which is Orb of Light, and your number 4 one, which is Empowerment. Now, Orb of Light, you're going to want to send this so that it moves through your allies, and as it's near the biggest group of your allies, you want to actually detonate it so that it heals them. The Empowerment one relies on you managing to get close to your allies, so you're going to want to try and be in the thick of a battle, but you're also needing to pay attention that you don't get interrupted. So if you've got any if you see there's an opportunity for you to use this whilst you've got stability, that can be a real boon, as it will prevent you from well, being interrupted. So looking at your Mace and Shield skills, you've got a bit more offensive capabilities, I feel, with the Mace, with just the number 1 ability, which it does more damage, and the chain will actually heal on your feet. The number, or the third time you swing it, you'll get a heal placed at your feet, which does a reasonable amount of heals. So if you can be fighting alongside your ally, this is a great one to be using in close proximity, because you'll get that heal off for your ally right away at his feet as well. The number 2 ability that you've got here is Symbol of Faith, and this does a reasonable amount of healing through the regeneration buff, and is a great one for you to place on an objective that you're on, as your allies will be moving through it quite regularly, and it does have a duration of 4 seconds, so it's placed for quite some time. The number 3 ability is the Protector's Strike, and this will allow you to damage foes in front of you, and it also grants protection, so long as you're not actually hit whilst you're using it. If you are hit, it will just sort of block that particular attack. Now, the number 4 ability is the Shield of Judgment, which is just a reasonably good buff ability that you've got, which you can use to grant your allies protection, as well as Aegis, which is the shield which will block the next incoming attack, which is just great to be using. You want to use that pretty much as regularly as you can in the middle of fights, and you want to try and cover as many allies as you can. With this, it actually goes out in a cone in front of you, so you're going to want to try and keep the protection and Aegis on allies, especially if it looks like there's suddenly going to be a big spike in damage. It does have a 20-second cooldown, and the Aegis and protection only last for 4 seconds, but I'd still recommend using it as sort of often as you're able to just try and mitigate as much damage as possible. Now, the number 5 ability is the Shield of Absorption, and this is probably one of the best abilities that the Guardian has access to, in my opinion. So this will knock back enemies that get close to you, so it's quite good if you do need to push enemies off sort of environmental hazards. So, you know, if you're on Skyhammer, knock them off the edge. It's also great for just giving yourself a moment's break if you're being hammered by lots of sort of warriors or other classes that want to get up close to you. Now, it will also reflect it will also absorb projectiles that are being fired at you. But one of the things that you should note is when people see you with this, they'll quite often try and interrupt you, and that's because you can detonate the shield, which will grant healing to all of your allies, and it does quite a substantial amount of healing. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you do detonate this before the full 4 seconds have run out. So with a bit of practice with this class and with this build, you should be able to get down the timing so that you detonate it on around about 3 seconds, or if it looks like somebody's coming in to interrupt you. Now, it's worth noting that some people do favour the sword over the mace, and this is because it offers extra mobility and is a lot more offensive. The key skill that people like with the sword is the flashing blades, which will blind the enemy and also allows you to move very quickly across the map. I think if you are playing Bunker though, and if you are dead set on supporting your team, the mace is a far better option. But that's something that you can obviously play around with, and you'll be able to sort of make up your own mind as to whether or not you want to take the sword or the mace. Now, we'll just take a quick look at the 3 different specializations that you use. The link, or there'll be a link in the description to the metabattles.com website, which has the full list of how you go about speccing this particular build. I won't cover it in this video because it would be quite boring and we would be into it for quite some time. So the specializations you're going to use are Honor, Valor and Dragonhunter. And these are obviously used to improve your healing abilities and also your survivability. Now, just taking a quick look at the rune and the amulet that you're taking the Cleric's Amulet, which will significantly boost your healing as well as improve your toughness and power, and the Superior Rune of Doliac, which will improve your toughness and survivability through your vitality. It will also allow you to regenerate health every few seconds. Now, I very rarely sort of cover the sigils for the equipment, but both the staff and the shield will be having the Superior Sigil of Renewal. And this is quite an important one, as every time you swap your weapons, you'll be doing healing to your allies, so it's in your best interest during these fights to be positioned close to your allies and to be swapping your weapons as regularly as possible. Okay, so now we're going to just take a quick look at the general uses of this this particular build, and also some sort of tips and tricks to get the most out of it. Now, one of the most important things that you're going to want to note about this build is it's not very good in 1v1 situations. In general, it's just not a particularly offensive class, and you're going to be wanting to stay as close to your teammates as possible. Preferably you want to stay in situations where you've got multiple teammates, so central objectives are generally the place where you'll find most of your team congregated, but obviously you can just use the mini-map to find where the battle's most intense, and you can go there to support your allies and be sort of valuable there. So it's very important that you've got a good situational awareness in this particular build, as your dodge rolls will do a reasonable amount of healing. So you're going to want to try and make sure that when you're dodge rolling into your allies, so that they get the most from you doing that. And you're also, as I say before, you're going to want to make sure that your weapon swaps are near your allies. Now, it can also be easier to aim the orb of light if you don't have a target when you're casting it, so you can just face your allies, but you've got to be very careful that you don't accidentally send the orb of light through the floor or into the ceiling, and for that reason sometimes I favour making sure that you have got an enemy who's engaged in sort of a 1v1 battle, or sort of a close quarters battle, I should say, with your allies, so then you know that it's at least leading towards them, and when it's near your ally you can then detonate it. Now, the Wings of Resolve, which is one of your F1 through 3 skills, is your biggest healing that you can do, but it comes at a price, and the price for using the Wings of Resolve is that it will take away your health regeneration, which will significantly reduce your survivability. So just be careful when you use that you aren't in a situation where you're instantly going to get stomped. So finally we'll look at the utility skills and the healing skills that you've got available. And the healing skill that you're going to take is Purification. And this skill is just a generally very good, a generally very good healing skill. It's actually a trap that damages and blinds, and then as the light returns to you, you get a sort of a secondary healing. So making sure positioning on this is particularly important. So then your utility skills, you've got Smite Conditions, which will do extra damage if you've got conditions on you, and is also quite good as it will remove 2 conditions from you. So it's sort of, you're dealing damage as well as hopefully reducing any negative effects that you've got on yourselves. You can then use the Contemplation of Purity to convert any conditions onto you into boons, as well as break stuns. So this is particularly useful if you're up against sort of condition engineers, which are purposely going out to put a lot of conditions on you. The only thing that I will say is quite often if I was playing this and I wasn't just looking at this particular build, I wouldn't take this, as I would be a lot less inclined to use the Wings of Resolve. And the Wings of Resolve's ability to consistently regenerate health if you haven't activated it will mitigate a lot of the damage you'll be receiving from conditions, especially when you've got such high healing on this class. So it's I suppose that also leads on to it's worth keeping the Contemplation of Purity for a situation when you've had to use the Wings of Resolve to heal your allies, and then you're suddenly hit with a lot of condition damage. Now you've got the Fragments of Faith as well, and this is a trap which will give you stability if you're on it, and in effect it drops fragments which you can pick up which give you stability. It will also cripple your enemy, so it's great for obviously slowing them down and preventing them fleeing a particular situation, and it will also grant you and allies Aegis if you sort of buy these fragments. The elite skill that comes or is recommended for this build is the Renewed Focus. In general, as I say, I probably wouldn't take this if I was using this build, but this is the recommended build, and it adds 3 seconds of survivability and effect renewal of focus because it makes you invulnerable, but it will not prevent condition damage from being taken, so you can still die if you're particularly poisoned. It will also prevent you capturing points, and for those reasons that's why I tend not to take it myself, but it can be useful. If you're about to be wiped out by a warrior, then you use Renewed Focus, and it can be quite useful for you. If you are, as I say, going to use Renewed Focus, make sure that you've used all of your virtues, your F1 through 3 skills, as these will be refreshed as soon as you use Renewed Focus. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Do like and subscribe, and as always there'll be more videos out every Monday on this channel, so hopefully I'll see you next time.